Hi guys, welcome to the tutorial of TestingLPoint. So last session we have discussed about some introduction of Selenium 4. So in this section we'll discuss about one of the most advanced topic of Selenium 4, which is called Selenium Grid. So here we'll discuss about introduction to grid, and we'll take some of the features and mode. I'll do some architecture of Selenium grid, and we'll see some of the features of grid, like which is observability, telemetry, GraphQL, and what are the future expectations from Selenium 4. So before going into the Selenium Grid, the enhanced version, let's discuss or have some short discussion on what is grid. So generally, Selenium Grid was developed in 2011. With Selenium Grid, we can set our infrastructure of different browsers on different system or machine. The component of Selenium Grid actually supports the process in which we can run our script in different ways, different browser simultaneously in a stipulated time. So you can run your test cases parallel in multiple environment and multiple platform, multiple browsers, and etc. Okay, so these are the little bit knowledge about Selenium Grid. So, what are the changes in features in Selenium Grid 4? So, it is very much light and smooth. Previous version of Selenium Grid was very complex to set up and work with Node and Hub, but in Selenium 4 actually it was very much simple, very much light and smooth. It actually added because of these like it added the Docker and Kubernetes in Selenium Grid. Because of this, it was very much smooth. And here, setup of node and hub is not required separately in Selenium Grid 4. It has a much enhanced and user-friendly GUI. It also supports tools like Azure, AWS, GCP, and also many more. It has the Docker support, as I already told you. In Docker support, actually what is happening, it will be used to spin the container in Docker without any heavy virtual machine. Though Selenium Grid 4 is implemented with Docker support, we can deploy our grid on the Kubernetes for better scaling. Okay, so with Kubernetes, we can set up the grid machine, and the advantages of this Docker and Kubernetes are it can scale by using cloud machine. Okay, so configuration file of grid 4 generally helps to spin up the instances of grid. The instances of grid actually written in the TOML language. So TOML is generally known as Tom's Obvious Minimal Language. This is very simple and very easy to understand. Let's go to what are the mode of deployment. There are four mode of deployment in Selenium Grid 4. We have standalone mode, we have hub and node, we have fully distributed, and we have Docker. Let's see another features in Selenium Grid. It supports IPv6. So earlier version of Selenium Grid only support IPv4. It does not support IPv6 addresses. If you want to learn about IPv4 and IPv6, you can go to my network protocol tutorials and to learn more about IPv4 and IPv6. In Selenium 4 grid, addition to IPv4, IPv6 address also supported. We can communicate to HTTPS protocol directly by using this version, Selenium 4 versions. Selenium 4 grid communicates HTTPS with support of TLS connection. Okay, now let's see what are the architecture of Selenium grid. In Selenium 4, hub or node actually both comes in a single jar file. When we start the server, both hub and node started. The previous release of Selenium grid supports only below processes, which is router, session map and distributed process. But in Selenium 4, it supports one more, which is called node. It supports router, session map, distributed process and node. Let's understand what are the components it will do. Here are some 4 components as I know here. One is router, distributed, session map and node. Router is actually the component which actually listens a request. Distributor is a component which accepts a request, consists of the list of session node and select a node which will be used to run the test case. Okay, actually distribute your request to the nodes. Session map is the component which will map the session ID to a node. A node is nothing but a machine which is responsible for your execution of the script. So this is actually architecture. So when we send the request, first router will listen your request and send to the distributor. Distributor what will do based on the logics, it will distribute the request to the nodes, and session map will map to the session ID to the node. So how it is working actually? So when initially a message request actually should be raised by the computer, after sending the request, it will come to the router and ping to the grid. After ping the grid, a new session request transferred to the distributor. This session request should contains a list of node. Okay. After receiving the session request, consists of a list of node, it is the responsibility of distributor to select the node to be running in the system. When distributor selected a node to run the test case, then session will start with that node. After session start, the responsibility will come to the node. Session map will map the session ID to the node. Once session start, it is the node's responsibility to respond back to the distributor with the session app URL and returns the control for use. So this way actually it was working this architecture. Okay. This the architecture actually is new in Selenium 4. It is similarly a little bit same with Selenium 2, but Selenium 4 actually separated this process as a Selenium separated this process because as in Selenium 2, hub classifies the router, distributor and session map. You can see the request can come with your session ID and node URL like this way. It will map actually. Okay. So there is another feature of Selenium Grade 4, which is observability. Observability is the responsible for the measuring the system internal state trace. Okay. It tracks actually the process when the API is called or invoked. Okay. And also in the case of when session created. This can help the admin of the test or the system to track the log file if there is some error or issues are there. By debugging, they can find the root cause of the process or issues or failure, or they can fix early within the less time as they able to know what is the log actually. Another feature is telemetry. Telemetry is actually a framework which is newly added in Selenium 4. Great. It also helps us to perform the distributed tracing. We can hook into anything with the telemetry framework. If something will going wrong, while running the test case. We can track the process of grid if something fails, and we can figure out what is the issues, and we can see that, and we can fix those issues. So basically, it was working as a log. Another feature is Graphql. Graphql is nothing but a console for front end. And this telemetry is actually a log file, which is basically in the backend, and this is basically a front end. Though front end console actually can execute the GraphQL query against the Selenium grid, and we can run this one either in our local or in our distributed system. So what are the expectations in the Selenium 4? Actually, there are lots of expectations, like we have revised version of UI, we have GraphQL for querying, improvement of stability for the resistance. So these are we can expect from Selenium 4. Thank you guys. We can stop here, and next tutorial we can see another feature of Selenium 4.